beautiful. We have the GoPro doing some time lapse at this time, but since I can get my little handheld tripod up here, it's a little shaky, but I mean, it's a Forest Service dirt road. It's pretty expected. Oh, absolutely beautiful. Yep. I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. This forest is keeping us cute. Plant forest. We've seen them. So you're pointing that way.
And there's a quote in some writings of the original lumber people here that they fought from time immemorial, because I suppose it was hunting rights and that sort of thing. The river, we think, was kind of a dividing line between the two. And one of the things that makes us know this too is that the Monongahela people did make petroglyphs, and about as far north as you see them is Cooksburg. And there didn't, anything north of that, and the Iroquois we know didn't do that. So the Seneca didn't do that, but the southern ones did. So those are the people that were here before. The Seneca go back to about 1000 BC. We know that as part of the Iroquois nation. Okay, the river. Imagine a time in the 19th century, early 19th century especially, when this was completely clear. Okay, and you could see the river. We can't see the river right now. I can tell you what's down there, but obviously we can't. And all of this is second growth that has come up. Anybody know where the river got its name from?
Which river is it?
It's the Clarion River. Okay.
Clarion,
yeah. It goes through the park and all over this territory, really.
It's a beautiful river.
Well, the French original. I don't know French.
Neither do I.
Okay, let me back up a little bit from that. The Indians called it Tobacco. which means dark water, not tobacco.
Okay.
In fact, there's a trail. Anybody been on the tobacco trail? No.
I think we were on that.
Raised that recently.
I think we were on that last time we were here.
It's an 8-mile trail. It connects Clear Creek and Cook Forest Parks.
Okay. We probably just hit a tiny piece of it then because we're kind of lazy hikers.
You've got to just turn around. There's no way out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was just like a there and back kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, could have been. But tobacco means dark water, and the natives called it that due to the tannins in the roots of the hemlock and white pine. It made the water dark, really dark. In fact, I think it still is, really. But that was the original name for the river. And the first Europeans now, they were the French, okay? And they called it La Riviera Officielle. Anybody know any French here? Okay, Aufiel. And that means river of gall, or even river of hate. Anybody know why it might be called the river of hate?
Dividing line?
This is just one theory. Well, okay, that's the better theory, okay? But one of them is, the other one is that the river gets so low in the summertime and right after that spring rush that anybody that's trying to travel up and down this river would have a heck of a time.
He's not going to have the
All
best
over
of
the
luck.
place. Yeah, because
No.
it gets really low. But that's not as good a theory as the other one. It was called the River of Hate because those two Native American groups fought each other from time immemorial, and they think that the river was a boundary for that.
So whenever the water was low enough for them to scuffle or whatever, they'd go for it, or they'd just do it anyway. Probably.
I don't know how they did all that, but the two groups didn't get along. One came from the north, the other came from the south, and they met here. That's basically how it happened, you know. Okay, I talked about petroglyphs already. Okay, this river's also been known as Muddy Creek and Toby Creek, and the name Clarion came from two lumber people, explorers really, early on explorers that thought that the river sounded like a distant clarion, and so the name sort of stuck. That's where all of this part of the state's called Clarion, Clarion County and the town of Clarion, and all that, those things, and so that's the kind of the name that stuck from that. Now there's a tremendous lumber history here too. There's many lumber families that came through. This one is known for the John Cook lumber family. You're going to see their burial place from the tower. But they're the only lumber family that saved a large tract of old growth trees. And so that's why this park exists to this day. They're the only ones
And
that
they're
did that.
outstanding.
They came to the area in 1826 and they were surveying for a possible canal route to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's about 75 miles. Imagine trying to build a canal through this. Do what you're standing on, this kind of thing. You know? It would have been really rough.
It would take some time.
You know? But that was the idea. Just below here is what we call the Gravel Lick Bridge, and unfortunately, you know, a long time ago you could have seen that. But upstream from that is Hemlock Island. Both of those were hubs of activity in the lumber boom days. I mean, you had ships and logs and everything going back and forth on the whole thing. Upriver from Hemlock Island, about 1.5 miles, is where that Route 36 bridge is located in the town of Cooksburg. Anybody been there? Just a little tourist place now is all it is. It's a lumber town that survived, and just upstream from that is a boat scaffold. Now, boat scaffolds were big structures that they built that extended way out over the river, and they would build log rafts and flat-bottom boats to take the logs down to Pittsburgh. Now, remember, this whole area, well, other than this old growth that they left, was, you know, stripped. You can imagine. I mean, the whole east actually was, if you know other states and all. So it's pretty amazing what they did. And so these flat-bottom boats were about 26 feet wide and 170 feet long. Imagine that. I mean, it would look like a huge wooden barge. You can't see the river, I understand, but that would be huge going up and down the river in those days. But that's how they did it.
Could they even turn those things around?
Probably not.
That's
Actually,
yeah,
a really
that's
good question.
that's kind of a weird concept. Like the river's not really that wide.
That's right.
So-
Nowhere is it that wide.
No.
But they were built and they were taken down there, and then they were taken apart and used for lumber once they got to Pittsburgh. That was the way they did it.
Wow.
The log rafts didn't need these scaffolds, but both of them had to have high water. So, because right now it wouldn't work. So when do you think they floated these boats down there?
It'd have to be in the spring.
It'd be late winter, early spring. And so the water was really cold at that point.
Ooh.
Okay, we used to get real winters, you know?
Yeah.
Really cold.
You wouldn't get me on one of those. In the winter, but something.
It took 6 to 10 days to make that trip to Pittsburgh, 75 miles on a raft like that. As I said, they were dismantled then. Now, if you were working for them and you were a deckhand or something, you had to get your way back up here if you wanted to continue to work for them. So you didn't make a lot of money. So if you used any form of transportation to get back up, you'd spend all the money that you made going down. So most people walked that way through the woods, through deep, thick woods like this, you know. And so imagine they walked rugged 75 miles in 3 days. You know, in fact, that's the fastest. When I say 3 days, that's the record time for people that did this. So that meant you had to be in excellent physical condition too, to be one of these people doing this. So we said the Clarion River lies below us here. Okay, what does the Clarion River run into at Foxburg?
Ohio River?
Allegheny?
Allegheny. Good. Okay. Where does the Allegheny? What river does the Allegheny run into, forming what other river at Pittsburgh?
Ohio?
No, not the Ohio. Well,
I can't remember. I used to
you're one
live here
step
a long
ahead.
time ago.
Monongahela Hill. Then.
Monongahela Hill,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Now the two together form what we call the Ohio. Okay, so it's just one step ahead. What river does the Ohio run into at Cairo, Illinois?
Mississippi.
Right. Okay. Where does the Mississippi River end up?
Gulf.
Okay. The way of life from about 1819 to 1919, I think I've got those dates right, was many lumbermen would get on the rafts about 50 miles north of Ridgeway. You know where Ridgeway is? It's north of here. Okay, it's on the Clarion, but it's north of here. And they would ride the rafts all the way first to Pittsburgh, and then they would switch to another raft pilot, and they would take them all the way down, and they would end up in Natchez, Mississippi, riding the rafts. Imagine that? And so for about 100 years, that was a way of life here. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Man.
And then they had to get their way back up. Now, you could, if you worked really hard, 3 to 5 days or something, you get back from Pittsburgh. How long do you think it took from Natchez?
Oh,
It took about
3 weeks.
Oh, 6 months.
No, it took 6 months.
Oh my goodness.
And walking most of the
Yeah,
time,
walking
because-
would, yeah.
Yeah, because you never made much money.
Can't exactly hitchhike.
That's exactly right. It was pretty rural out there, that's for sure. Okay, so so it was a way of life, and it went on and on until basically the woods ran out, except for what they saved right here. Any questions or comments at that point? So it's rich history here. If you go through the park, you'll see a lot of the Native American stuff. You'll see evidences of lumbering too, actually, out there. So things like that.
Is that one too where they?
Yeah, that is likely one. I'm looking at the angles on it. Yes. Yeah, this whole thing is full of them. And then if you spent the time going down below, you would see where they stayed, at least during when they were hunting in this area.
Is there petroglyphs around here?
Cooksburg is the farthest north. So you'd have to go from there south. I don't know exactly where they are, but that's what, they're out there in the woods. So there are, really, yeah. Okay, the first tree we're going to look at is this one. This is almost unique. Well, it's not unique in the park. I'll show you another one, but there's not many of these around. Anybody know what this is? It has 3 needles in a group, what we call a fascicle. I don't see a thing.
Ponderosa?
Pardon?
Is it Ponderosa?
No,
Not
not
Ponderosa
Ponderosa.
there. We don't know.
No guesses? It's a pitch pine. And a pitch pine it takes fire to make the cones break down so that the seed can germinate.
Okay.
So the only reason they're here is because of the fire that went through in the 1880s. So about how old does that make this tree? This ugly looking little tree, right?
Dang old.
Well, around 140 years, more or less. Okay, something like that. Because we know the fire went through in the 1880s. So, but let's see. Let's keep going this way. Okay, you're going to see a lot of these. Both of these. Yeah. Anybody know what this is? Deeply furrowed bark like this.
Chestnut oak.
What's that?
Chestnut oak.
Chestnut oak. Most of the trees in the forest today are chestnut oak. In the park are chestnut oak. This is the species that mostly took over, and I'm saying mostly carefully because you will see other things, obviously. There's red maples out here, and there's other kinds of oak too, but chestnut oak, when we get to the top of the tower, that's what you're going to see all around that tower. Further out, you'll see old growth hemlock and white pine, but you see a lot of that from there. So, yeah, tons of that in the forest too. Good tree. Yep. And how about how rot resistant it was? I mean, all these old fences. You go to Mount Vernon, those fences are American chestnut. I mean, stuff like that. It lasts a way long time. And then,
Well, when you were born, you have a chestnut cradle. When you die, you have a chestnut coffin.
there you go. That's right. See now, what this bark does, that's that chestnut oak again.
Real distinctive bark.
Very distinctive. And they're all over. At least we're in the shade, right?
Oh yeah. Down at the campground, it's 89 degrees. Up here, it's about 82.
There you go.
Oh, that's beautiful.
See, we're just beginning now. If you're here in the park again a little while, there'll be tons of these out. I mean, they're really pretty, really pretty. And earlier, it's not as good now, but the mountain laurel was beautiful earlier. Well, you see, we're popping out now a good bit. Yeah, but what a beautiful place.
Don't fall down.
Last time I was here, I tripped over a rock and took a pretty nasty fall.
Ooh,
But hey, no broken bones.
It's kind of hilarious. Really.
No broken bones. No blood.
She said she's at the treetops. She's doing that last flight. Here she goes. Son of a bitch!
Another remnant tree. I love the bark on this one. It's pitch pine. Look at that. That's, a really good bark.
Way
Simple.
wild
That
looking.
makes it really. See, the first one you said was I didn't want to say it wrong. So you can really tell with these.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a better looking tree than that one. So that's pitch pine, yeah.
Wowzer.
We just passed some red oak and common ones too, but you can really tell there. You got to be in the fire part of the park.
Fiery.
We have southern red oak and northern red oak down West Virginia.
Okay.
You guys just have northern red oak up here.
That's all we have up here is northern red
Yeah,
oak.
so you got this red oak. You don't have to know northern. It's red oak.
The park has very little occasional white oak, but very little of that. Okay.
There's the rock.
There it is. And there's the rock.
Now we're going to go clear to the top. But fire tower number 9. It was constructed in August 18th, actually, 1929. It was built as a tourist attraction, actually. It wasn't built for fires. It didn't serve for fires until 1948. And in 1948, from 1967, it paid people manned the tower. But then from 67 to 77, volunteers manned the tower looking for fires. So it was that later on. But then a tornado came through, knocked down its power lines and its phone and all that in 77, and so since then it reverted to its original tourist use, which is right now what we're doing. When's fire season, by the way?
Now.
Well, not so much
August.
now.
August-ish, I would guess.
July, August.
It's actually early spring, especially, and late fall. The reason is you get a sunny day in early spring before the leaves from deciduous trees are out, and with all this leaf litter
Yep,
that's
yep.
here,
All the ground cover.
You know, the ground cover dries right out with that kind of weather, and that you can easily get a fire. Fall the same way, but there's usually more moisture in the fall than some of those early spring days.
So it's more smoldery in the fall?
Yeah,
Less
sure,
predictable?
sure, but not as hot a fire when you get one and that kind of thing. And so everybody's especially alert to fire danger in the early spring. It's just those beautiful early days that we all like so much. Okay.
There's got to be a caveat, correct?
So, early, back starting in 1948, as I said, when they started looking for fires, they used a method in here called the cross-triangulation method. It was a pre-satellite thing. And they had a table in the top of it, and there is a table there now, but it was a circular table, and it had what they called an alidade in the middle of it. And the alidade could swing around, and it had marks on it to indicate distances like away from the tower. There was a hole in the top of the table, and this alidade sat in the hole, and the hole represented the tower itself. And if someone saw smoke, they'd swing it around in the direction where the smoke was. And they knew that it had a circular map on the table too, and they knew that every 3 marks on that map represented a mile out there, about a mile on the ground. So they'd line it up with that, and then they would call the next tower, and another tower, Marionville Tower, would say, which still functions, and they would do the same thing, and they would get an X. Then they'd call a third tower, and they would do the same thing. They'd swing this alidade around and line it up. They'd get a distance on the map with the marks on the alidade, and so they'd get a triangle shape. And so they were able to...
So they knew right where it was.
They knew right where the fire was, and then they would send ground crews in. So, today all of that's gone because of satellites, but it was real good for pre-satellite kind of thing to do that. So yeah, they called them, they did that. What do you think someone should do if there's a thunderstorm up there?
Get the heck out of there!
A retired retired fire person said, "We get you know what off the tower, absolutely."
Looking
Yes.
for lightning rods up there. I don't see any. Some of them are lightning rods.
No, it is one big giant one.
Oh, there is one. Or is that an antenna?
Okay, when we get to the top, we're going to see the highest points in Jefferson, Clarion, and Forest counties. And I'll be pointing out a lot of stuff as we go up there. By the way, I'll just tell you some stats on it here. The tower is 95 years old. It's 87 and a half feet to the top, and there's 108 steps up to the box. Okay.
It's doable.
Yep. It's doable.
It's totally doable.
We're going to sweat, though.
It'll get a little warm, but it's doable.
She did it on a windy day, and it
I
was
did it
kinda
on a windy
sweaty.
day, and I'll tell you, that's not very fun. Because
Okay.
it's like going...
It just feels it.
It was weird. It was weird.
Okay,
I went another day, and it wasn't windy, and it was fine. So...
So, the instrument itself is not up there, but the table's up there. You'll see. It's actually a square table, and it's supposed to be round, but I suppose you could put a round map on it, and still make it work. Yes. So, all right, let's go up, and you'll be clearly able to see the demarcation line between old growth wood, old growth trees, and then second growth. Clarion, Jefferson, and Forest counties.
Oops.
That is the Cook Mausoleum straight out there.
Sweet. Oh,
Okay,
and there's
the white thing there?
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay.
Nice.
And you guys can get to the window if you want. And look down, and you'll see mostly chestnut oak from here, all the way around.
You look down this right.
Yeah, look down right immediately here. If you look over on the hill to the left there, you will see that's the old growth over there. In fact, there's National Natural Cathedral area there, National Monument.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, so we got the Cook Mausoleum, Cook Cemetery is there. You can't really see that from here. On the right side, down here, you see that rooftop. That's Gateway Lodge. Okay, anybody know? I don't know if anybody's been there. It's pretty well known in the area. Let's see, so I don't forget anything. Okay, Black Bear Cabins are down that way too. I don't know if anybody's staying there now. If you look up at about, I'm going to take this at about noon. So I'm going to go over here, and at about 2 o'clock, you will see some antenna on the horizon. It's really hard to see through this. You guys
See one up there, like a big tower up there that way.
Straight ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, it's to the right more, and they're small. They're hard to see. In fact, you should be right over here. I think they're actually on that land there, but it's so humid and so air so thick today. I'm not sure we can see them. But they're small. They're small antennas, and that is the location of another fire tower, the Hayes Lot Fire Tower. Are you familiar with that one?
No, I'm not.
Okay, it's just another one of these out there. But it should be right over in that area, but I can't even see those antennas yet today.
It may be two, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's too hazy, you know, that kind of thing.
So where's that fire tower located?
Boy, I have to look that up. It's what we call the Hayes Lot Fire Tower. There are others. There's one in Marionville, too.
Yeah, I know that one in Marionville is.
Okay.
You betcha.
Look up Hayes Lot. I'm not entirely sure. I've never been to that one myself. Now, if we go from here to the left side, the white spot down.
I see a white spot right there.
Yeah, I do too. Okay,
Yeah.
the
Down that way?
Marionville prison is down there, and that should be the water tower right there. It's hard to see. The trees are just growing
I
up
can
so
kind of
much.
see it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Went by that.
And if we keep on going down that side, all the way down, that should be the Cook Mansion, where the Cooks own that to this day.
Okay.
And that's cabins. Up here on this ridge, okay, is what we call the Forest Cathedral National Natural Landmark. Okay, it's a federally designated natural landmark. These are the tallest conifers in Pennsylvania, and the finest stands of hemlock, of eastern hemlock in the U.S.
Which ridge am I looking at? Over that way or
No,
this
over
way?
here,
Straight
up
over
this
here.
one.
Okay,
Yep,
yeah.
yep, right there.
Okay, yeah.
The oldest white pine in there started
jump
growing
in?
in the 1600s,
No, you're good.
Don't like to be that close?
and some of the oldest trees, as I said before, date back to the time of Christopher Columbus and that whole area over there.
Yeah,
That's why it's
Mr.
a
Hornet,
national
I'll let you be.
natural landmark.
Now is that like where Seneca Trail comes up along there?
There's another area of old growth in here known as the Seneca Forest.
Yeah, but the
Yes.
Seneca Trail that comes up from the bridge that comes up to the fire.
I'm going to
tower.
say yes. Okay, and I'm not 100% on that, but I think so. Okay, and I think that's why it's called the Seneca Forest over there. So, yeah, there's all kinds of trails in the park here. Within the Seneca Forest area, there's what we call a special management area full of old growth again. Has anybody taken the Trail of the Ancients?
I have.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, how about that trail?
Or I mean the cathedral, you mean, right? The cathedral?
Well, there's a cathedral trail and a Trail of the Ancients.
Oh, I took that too. Yeah. I took
Okay,
that, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And they're both really cool with
Yeah.
the
Beautiful.
old, dominated old growth. And if we keep going back to like 7 o'clock, which from there would be, you've seen it before, but you should be able to see what's called St. Joseph Church in Lucinda, the highest points in Clarion County. I'm not sure you can actually see it today though, but I've seen it before. It's a church, and again, those are really high points. It might be straight all the way out there. I don't know that we can see that today.
Kind of hazy.
Yes, they say on a good clear day you can see up to 30 miles. So
Maybe a fall day or something.
yes, but look at this haze. You know.
Do you know where that tower is? You can see straight out in front of us.
No, I don't know that one. But the ones that I'm always focused on are over here to the right, which are very hard to see today. But no, I don't know where that is at. So, but you can see, look at the difference between the trees that are right here and the trees over there. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's a line between the two, okay? And even on that other hill is more of the hemlock and white pine growth. The second growth is all
clear.
this kind of stuff. It's clear though, and a lot of this is second growth out this way, but you can tell a difference when you look at them. It's where the fire went through in the 1880s and completely rechanged the landscape.
It's funny how Mother Nature will decide to take over.
Sure.
She will take over.
Repair itself, or whole new
Change it
species
up.
come in. Yeah.
Yep, just change it up.
I mean, the whole northeast, well, the whole east was logged. And a lot of this, where we had conifers before, we used to have hemlock, white pine, and beech. Beech is a deciduous that was here.
Mhm.
But what came back is all these oaks and maples and all of that. I mean, it just drastically changed after all the logging. And then here, of course, it was the fire. Sometimes we see, turkey vultures out on that, snag over there. They hang out there. They like to see things. So,
Good perch. Wow.
any questions or comments or anything?
Driving around in the forest.
Young trees,
Mm-hmm.
old trees.
Like, these are kind of old trees, but this is still like secondary growth from what he was talking about. A lot of these were planted since the logging. So this isn't ancient growth, it's oldish, but it's not the old man in the ancient forest. Still pretty gorgeous. The temperature back in here is certainly much nicer.
82 still. I don't remember this road being much wider.
It's just not. I feel like this is where we saw the deer last time, and there they are.
There's one right there.
There they are. And the kids.
Two.
Littles. There's some littles. They're just screwing around, doing little Bambi things. Hmm?